Hey everybody, Brandon Mason here with Eastmans, and today I've got a new YETI 65. So we're going to turn my old YETI cooler into an air conditioner for the tent. I love this time of year. It's late summer, we're heading into early fall, and I love spending time out in the field chasing antelope and mule deer. Problem is, you go back to your tent midday, it's about 1,000 degrees in your tent. I love tent camping. I'm mostly a tent camper. I tend to steer away from RVs and campers and things like that. But I miss the air conditioning. I'm kind of a diva when it comes to my air conditioning. And so we're going to turn this YETI cooler into an air conditioner for your tent. And it doesn't cost very much money at all. We're going to show you some cheap and simple ways to do it, and it takes less than an hour to build. So that is basically all you need to build this cooler, and then we're going to put ice inside and show you what happens. So we are first going to take our components, lay them out on top where we want to place them, and then we're going to trace them. Now we're probably not going to trace these because the holes we actually need to cut are these here. And these are going to go on top so we can turn them however we want to. We're not going to glue them on, obviously, so they can be flexible. These will be glued into the top of the cooler. Pretty slick system. For this fan, I'm going to take off that front shroud so I can trace the outer perimeter, and then that's just going to sit in there like that. And then this is going to be attached to either a power inverter, battery supply that you can have in camp, or something like a Goal Zero charger, whatever. There's almost an unlimited amount of options, and I'm going to show you a couple different ways to do that. Okay, let's go ahead and trace where we want to put these. So these are just PVC extensions. So I need this adapter to hook onto this elbow. Is the only purpose for that. And we are going to put these two right here, trace around them, and then once that is glued in there, this will be able to just turn freely whatever direction you want the air to flow on the tent or wherever you're using it. And then I put this front screen off of that, and I'm going to trace that, and so the fan will sit upside down like this. This will be inside of the top of the lid of the cooler, and that air is going to go down into the cooler, blow over the ice, and come out these vents, and it will dramatically cool the air. It'll probably be blowing out somewhere in the neighborhood of 45-degree air out into the tent, which is pretty sweet. We're using a pen instead of a Sharpie to get a little bit more precise line, so it's not quite as wide, so I know exactly where I'm going to need to cut for that to slip in there. And the nice thing about this, the ridges that are used to normally tighten this on a pipe on a piece of PVC, is that's going to be a nice little lip to just hold that in place over top of the glue. So it should be pretty stable. And should be about the right thickness that we need to go through the lid as well. So first we need to drill our pilot hole, which we're going to try and stick to the inside here. Well, there's no going back now. I just drilled a hole through a $400 cooler. See if that made it through. It did not make it through. Okay. So that's going to be a little bit of a challenge. We're going to have to retrace those holes because this isn't long enough to go through. There. What the inside of a YETI lid looks like. Nice and foam packed. So I'm gonna snap back onto there and sit right in there. Perfect. Okay, it's time for the glue to let these set up. And again, the first run here, we're gonna try some Fletch Tight by Boning that I use for a lot of different things. There, that's a pretty quick drying adhesive. We're gonna let that sit for about 5 minutes and then we'll come back and check on it. All right, so the glue is just about dry. It'll take a full 24 hours for that to 100% set up, but it's dry enough to show the next step. So we're gonna use these elbows and they're just gonna sit on here. We're not gonna glue those on. And so what this is gonna do is, let's say you have this towards the entrance of your tent, you have a cot over here and a cot over here. You can angle this to whatever direction you want to and get direct airflow on the individual. So now I'm going to tape some little plastic pieces from a plastic grocery sack, and then we're going to turn on the fan so you can see the airflow that's coming out of here. And before we do that, I'm going to show you what it looks like on the inside too. So that air is going to be pushed down from the fan over on top of the ice, going to circle around or cycle around and go out through these vents. And what we're going to do is we're probably going to put the ice blocks or ice cubes or ice jugs, whatever you want to use. The ice blocks will work the best. And I've got these smoker trays I'm going to set inverted in here, the ice over top of those, and that's going to allow air to come in underneath the ice and on top of the ice and flow through and get more of that surface area to cool it a little better. Okay, here's a trial run. We're going to plug this into my power source here, turn on the power source, and then we're going to turn on low first. See the plastics just start to move a little bit. It's circulating in there. A little staticky, so it's wanting to stick to the cooler. So you can see it's moving air. Just a nice steady breeze. And then I just have a simple meat thermometer that we're going to put in there to get the ambient temperature before ice, and then we'll do one after ice. Okay, so you can see the temperature coming out of there is between 60 and 70 degrees. Not excruciating hot today, but it's going to give you an idea on how much cooler we can get this once we put ice in. Okay, we got some block ice. Power source back up there. Fan's going. Put the thermometer back in. We're going to see went from between 60 and 70 degrees. We're going to see where it takes us. Okay, so I got 3 blocks of ice in there, and it's just over 50 degrees. And that is with it on top of those inverted smoker trays on the bottom to get airflow maximized. Well, it's day 3 of early archery mule deer season, and the temperatures are scorching. We actually had the little homemade AC unit in the back of the Suburban, and we were going to put it in the tent this afternoon, but we're so far back in here on this ridge that we drove into that we didn't want to waste hours going back to camp, because this is where we want to last tonight. So we also can't sit here with the vehicle running for hours as we chill out, and it's 35-mile-an-hour wind, so it's miserable to be outside. So we have the YETI air conditioner working in the vehicle instead. Okay, so there's a couple different ways you can power this. And one is if you have a Goal Zero power bank, that works pretty good. But if you don't, or don't have the budget to do so, you can buy a power inverter and a simple battery. And you can also either use Goal Zero or other solar chargers to recharge the battery. And there's so many good ones on the market right now that really don't break the bank like they used to. And so this will power this thing for a very long time, and then hook the solar panels up to it and recharge it. Alright, as you can see in the tent, we are now in mule deer camp, early season mule deer camp, early September in the sagebrush deserts of Wyoming, and it is just over 90 degrees in the tent. So now we're gonna put it in here to measure like we did back home. Alright, it seems to have stabilized and we're right around 50 degrees, so a couple degrees cooler than in my shop at home. We got the breeze flowing out. So not only is this working to cool the air, obviously, but again, we mounted these elbows, 2 elbows in here that we didn't glue down. They're just sitting on these adapters, so you can channel the airflow wherever you want. So we have one cot there, one cot here, or if your buddy's out of the tent, you get both. Well, there you have it, the YETI tent air conditioner project that I worked on for this early fall hunting season, and it's working, blowing cool air. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell notification so that we can send you updates when we come out with new videos just like this. Usually they're not quite so out of the box, but lots of good gear reviews, lots of hunting action, and once in a while a little creative project like this.